That little red thing mean we're live?
Yeah.
Where can I see the number of people watching this stream?
I'll be keeping tabs on it, don't worry.
Okay.
And I have sent out the app link. Oh, we caught that on chat, that cough. All right, well, let's wait for people to come in. I sent that a message out a bit late, so maybe it'll take a bit for people to flow in. But Chris, don't worry too much about hold on, why is there we go. Don't worry too much if there aren't many questions or anything. The main purpose of this is to get the recording for future reference.
All right.
Having said that, I will pop in if there are any questions. I'll remove myself from the video, but then I'll come back if need be. I'll ask them, and then I'll pop out again. This is your stage. We will, however, wait. Let's say we'll just wait a minute more.
All right.
For those of you just tuning in, we are just going to wait until 7:33, let's say, for people to stream in, pun intended. Till then, just hang tight.
Yeah, this application's so cool. I want to see myself on Twitch.
Well, go check the VOD and you can. Let's see. 10 seconds before we start.
Wait, no, I want to see
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, take it away, Chris.
Okay, I didn't get to see myself. All right.
Make sure to introduce yourself and your club.
All right, so hi everyone. I'm Chris. I will be your instructor for today. And I'm from Brandeis University, and I'm president of the VR and Game Development Club there. And today I will be talking to you about audio in Unity. So this is honestly probably going to be an easier tutorial than the other ones you're going over. First reason for this is the Unity Learn project I'm basing this off of has a bunch of non-audio based material, which I've cut out so we can focus just on sound today. And the second is that you all have been going through so much content in these past few weeks. It's hard for me to kind of come up with things, or so you're just going to get like a lot of the concepts that I'm teaching you in the blink of an eye. So I guess the main things I want you to get out of our tutorial today are 1, sound files, what they are; 2, how to play sounds through code; 3, how to change those sounds during runtime in Unity; and 4th, how to find and best use Freesound assets online. Hopefully you've been able to download and open the project I have in front of me. The scene here, if it's still taking some time, then that's all right. We're not going to be getting into the prototype scene right away. Yeah, but if you can't open the project, that's also okay. Honestly, like I'll just be like moving around some components. We'll probably only be scripting about like 6 lines of code. Audio sources are just that easy. So feel free to just follow along. All right. So audio file basics. Audio files are just sound data that have been picked up by a microphone and have been formatted a way that your computer can read. So sound files can be anything from .mp3 files, .wav files, .ogg files. Those are the ones that are recognized by Unity, and there are some more. And if you have a sound file, you can just add it to the project, and it'll just appear in your asset folder. So if we go into course library, sound, and I guess I'll just pick music for now. This is what a sound file looks like in Unity. So there are a bunch of settings up here that you don't need to worry about for now. And if you want to hear what a sound file sounds like, there are some options here at the bottom. This play button will this play button will play the sound. Michael, let me know if you can hear this.
I don't hear anything.
All right, this is very important for an audio tutorial. So
Oh dear.
let me see if I can change that. Everybody can see and hear you. Clearly not. Maybe if I do this. Share screen. All right, screen 2. I don't know if there's an option.
Is it possible to go on without actually being able to hear?
Yeah, it will be possible. It's just that, of course, it's better if people are hearing the sounds. Allow. Audio. Looks like it's just picking up my device. All right.
We'll
I think I'll
have
just
to continue.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So I guess I'll just have to describe what I'm hearing instead of you guys actually hearing it. So when I press play, this is going to be some BGM. It's like some 8-bit music that's playing on. If you want to have more convenient listening, then you would press this turn autoplay on and off. And when I press this, when I press this, then when I switch between my audio tabs, then I'll automatically play the audio. So very useful when you're like going through a bunch of sound files on your computer and you need to choose which one. This last one, loop on and off. So when you play the sound, it'll just loop back over and over again. Okay, one caveat I'm just now thinking about when, like, since I can hear these sounds and you can't, is like I'm going to be like drowning myself out in my own microphone, and you guys are just going to be hearing me. Okay, it's fine. I'll just have to adapt. All right. So that's audio files in a nutshell. And if you actually want to play these audio files, this is where Unity's built-in component comes in, and this is called the audio source. So this is a component you can just drag in, type in audio source, and it's the first one. And this is essentially the speaker for your scene. Any sound files that you play with this audio clip or through script, it's going to come out from here. And if you turn on the spatial blend, it'll actually play from this object's point in space. All right. So basics, if you want to play a sound in Unity, you'll have to click and drag one of your audio files into this audio clip field inside the audio source. Make sure play on awake is true. If you want it to be looping, you'd press this as well. And then when you press play, you should be hearing music. Although me pressing that didn't actually do anything for obvious reasons. No. All right. So yeah, some more basics of the audio source.
We have a question in the chat. Somebody's wondering where you find the audio source.
So this is another component that you add in Unity. This is, if you've heard of things like the transform component, where you edit the XYZs before, if you've needed to do collisions, like rigid bodies or box colliders, you can just add the audio source the same way. You press add component in a place like your main camera or an object that you want to play sound, and you look up audio source, and you can make a new component right here.
Does that answer your question? I have to wait a little bit because there's a delay.
How many seconds?
I'm not sure.
I think it was like maybe 10. Like when we started the
Something
stream,
like
it saw
that.
like we were live for 10
It's
seconds.
okay. It said they said to answer the question, so
Awesome.
at least that long. At most that long. All right. Back to you, Chris.
All right. So some other things you can edit in your audio source, volume and pitch. So volume, just how loud or soft it is. 1 is at max volume and 0 would be completely silent. Pitch, higher this is, the higher and faster it is, the lower it is, the slower it is. You can even go in reverse. Stereo pan, if you got headphones, then this will pan it to your left speaker or your right speaker. Spatial blend, so this is really interesting. Right now it's set to 2D, so it's going to play at the same volume no matter where you are in the scene, where the camera is in the scene. Right now our audio source is attached to our camera. But if you set this over to 3D, then it's going to play at whatever that point in wherever the game object that the audio source is attached to, that point in space. So really, when audio in Unity has like 2 players in the game. First is the audio listener. This is like the ears of the scene, and the audio source, which is like the speaker of the scene. So right now, the audio listener and the audio source are on the same object, but you can easily kind of imagine that if like, I don't know, we had like a cat game object over here, and we wanted to have it meow at us, then we would set the spatial blend to 3D, put the audio source on the cat, put the audio listener on the camera, and we would hear the cat meow louder and louder as we got closer to it. All right. So those are the basics of audio sources. Now I guess we can go into the main course library scene, which I can explain if people are still downloading it. We go to prototype 3. Let's not save our changes. All right, so this is a scene that I took from the audio and SFX module on Unity Learn. This is Unit 3, in case you want to look at it over there. But I've already completed the collision, animation, and game over steps ahead of time, so we can focus solely on sound effects. I do recommend stepping through the original project from the beginning if you're curious about how this stuff works, but let's just take a look. All right, so we have a construction worker. I am not very good at this game, so I just died as soon as I hit an obstacle. Let's do that again. All right, concentrate, Chris. Construction worker, traffic cone. I jump over the traffic cone by hitting space. I may not have coded this game very well. Okay, so there were a couple of aspects to the scene that I'll just go over very briefly. One, you might have seen that the construction worker has multiple animations. One is when he's running, when he's jumping, and when he runs into an object and dies. So that's handled by Unity's animation controller. That's one aspect. The second aspect is the input control. When I'm hitting space, it's applying a force to the construction worker. And that is handled by this player controller. Here, every single frame is checking if I have hit the space key, if I'm on the ground, and if the game is over. And if so, it's going to add a force to the player. It's going to cause him to jump upwards. It's going to trigger something in the animation controller that sets it to a jumping state. And until we hit the ground again, we're going to say that we're flying. Is on ground equals false. All right. So animation, jumping. There is also the obstacles that are spawning every couple seconds. This is a prefab that is being spawned every, I'd say like every 1 second, and it is being called repeatedly by this function in the spawn manager called spawn obstacle. And the way you do this is you do this invoke repeating method in the start function. If I'm going too fast with all this, like it's all right. I'm not going to be going into all this in great detail. I'm just sort of explaining things more broadly so you kind of understand the scene. The final thing is this background. It's going left constantly, and it's resetting its position once it hits a certain negative x value to the beginning, so it kind of has this illusion of this infinite world. So these are all the aspects of the project that I am not going to go over in depth today, but just one more time. I'm going to run the project and then try to last as long as I can. Jump, space, jump animation, I hit an object, and then I die. All right, so there are a couple of events that are important to the gameplay in the scene, and that would be when the construction worker jumps, and when the construction worker hits a traffic cone. And of course, we want to play some background music as well. So how are we going to do this? Well, I've gone over how to make an audio source, so I guess we can start with that. Our audio listener is on the main camera, but we're going to put the audio source on the player because one, it doesn't really matter, and two, I think the audio it's going to be helpful for the audio source to be in the same object as the player controller. So now we got our audio source. Now we can just do what we did before to play some background music. All right, this background music, it goes like dun, dun, and I will just put it in the player. And when an audio clip is the only, when you put an audio clip into the audio source, it's the only one that can actually be played directly by the audio source. And so you can only be playing one track at a time with this particular one. But as we'll see later, we can use this audio source for a bunch of other audio clips. So what this is doing right now is it is taking that background music track. It's going to play that background music as soon as we awake, as soon as we hit play, and it's going to loop. So just imagine when I press play, we're going to have some background music. All right, so what are we going to do about the jumping and the crashing sounds? Well, we can't assign that in the audio source, and it's also going to be conditional on when we're jumping and when we are hitting an object. So we're going to have to turn to scripts. Now, you might have learned how to actually capture this audio source in a variable in a previous lecture, but I'm just going to go over it again because this is really, really important to understand. So goal, I want to get an audio source as a variable in my spawn manager, not my spawn manager script, my player controller script. The first way is to ask for a public audio source, and we're just going to call that audio source. And that's really all there is to it. This is the first way to do it. Of course, when we declare a variable public in a C# script in Unity, then we will be able to see that in the inspector. So just wait for this to load, and there should be a little field in our player controller script that takes an audio source as an argument. All right. That might take a bit. I mean, I only added like a line of code, but it's cool. Audio source. So how we get a reference to that audio source is that we drag the parent of the component that we want, not the directional light, but the player. And we are going to drag this into the audio source field here. And now we have a reference to the audio source. As you can see, that was slightly painful for us. So there is a second way that we can do component referencing, and that is get component. So this can be either public or private, but we won't need to manually drag things in if we use the get component method, and we can just say in our start method, audio source equals get component audio source. And this will automatically fetch the audio source for us. And this is a much easier way for us to actually fetch the audio source instead of like always dragging the parent into our field. All right, so that might have just been a review, maybe, but this is always super helpful to know, and it's going to give you a ton of power as a Unity programmer. All right. Now we kind of have all of the we kind of have all the tools to play a sound when we're jumping and crashing into things. So when we're the two main conditionals in our scene, the two main triggers are when we jump, which is here, when there is a frame where we have pressed the space key, we are on the ground, and the game is not over, and this bit of code is run. The second is when we collide with a game object, and that would be this onCollisionEnter method. When we hit a game object that is not the ground, and we go into this else statement, and this means that we've hit a traffic cone, and we need to end the game. So game over equals true, and we play some of these death animations. All right, so the 2 lines of code I'm going to add here are pretty simple. We're going to say audio source dot play one shot jump sound. I haven't instantiated the jump sound variable yet, but I will right after this. So this is when we have pressed space and we have executed the code to jump. And the second place we want to play a one shot is down here when we have collided with an obstacle. So here, audio source dot play one sound, play one shot, and crash sound. Crash sound. Excellent. All right, so what does this really mean? Like, we already have an audio clip playing in our audio source, and that's the background music. How can it be playing these two variables here? Well, it turns out that an audio source can be playing multiple sounds at once, and this method, play one shot, allows it to play a single instance of an audio clip once, and then forget about it later on. And you can pass in any sound file that you have over here. So jump sound and crash sound, what are these? These are things called audio clips, which is just a fancy name for an audio file that is in your asset folder. So there isn't really a way that we can like get automatic, we can do the step automatically. So we're just going to do public audio clip and call this jump sound. And we are going to say public audio clip crash sound. And those are our 2 variables. All right, so jump sound and crash sound. These are audio clips, and and again, this is just a fancy name for our audio files. We can just drag our audio files from our asset folder into this player controller component. So it's going to take a while to load, as it did last time. But we should see, once that's done, player controller is going to have 2 new fields, and they're going to be expecting audio clips. So what do we put in there? Well, we go to course library, sound, SFX, and jumping and crashing sounds. Let's put one of the jump files into the jump sound, and one of the crashing files into the crash sound. Now, if I had sound playing, I would play the scene for you, and when I'm jumping, you would hear a jumping sound, and when I crashed into a traffic cone, you'd be able to hear a small crashing sound, and that's all due to our fruits of it, and that's the fruits of our labors, making all of these changes to the script. Quick recap: we did a component reference to the audio source. We got the component using the getComponent method. We made 2 public variables, 2 audio clip variables called jump sound and crash sound. and we assign them to 2 audio files that we had stored on our asset library. And in these 2 important conditional statements, one where we jump, we put this line of code, audio source.play one shot jump sound, and when we crash into an obstacle, we play this audio source.play one shot crash sound. All right. Now, I guess we can go on to these aspects of the audio source that are a couple more methods of the audio source. Here, volume, pitch. You can do stereo pan. You can mess with stereo pan and spatial blend if you want, but volume and pitch are the 2 immediately most interesting to us. So if you play a sound in Unity and you edit this volume function while you're in play mode, you'll find that when you decrease this volume slider, it'll get quieter and quieter. And if you increase it, it'll go to max volume, even while you're still in play mode. You'll hear the sound go quieter and louder in real time. If you do pitch, again, same deal. If you increase it, it'll get faster and faster in your game. And if you decrease it, it'll get slower and slower and eventually play in reverse. And this is another thing that we can edit. So editing these during runtime is actually very, very simple. It's sort of the same idea that we had when we wanted to play a one-shot, except instead of calling a method, we're just going to be editing a variable. So in the update method, we could say every time a player jumps, we could say audio source.pitch plus equals 0.1f and audio source dot volume minus equals 0.05f. And these are 2 small values that essentially mean every time we jump, we're going to increase the background music's pitch by 0.1f, and we're going to decrease its volume by 0.5f. It's going to get higher and higher, and it's going to get quieter and quieter. And interestingly, these changes are not only going to affect the background music, but it's also going to affect these play one-shots that we've got going on here. So not only will the background music get louder, quieter and quieter and higher, but also these jumping sounds and the crashing sounds. I wish I could show you guys. It's lots and lots of fun. All right. Let's see. Finally, let's see. We got our priority, volume, pitch. Oh, and yeah, of course, you can mess with the spatial blend and stereo pan. Like you'll be able to change these during runtime. And if you're a headphone user, or you want to have maybe you want like a car with a siren, and it's like going real fast.
Popping back in for a second, we have a question. Is there a difference to using an audio clip to play the background music instead of using an audio source?
So I don't think there is. Like, I think you can just like in theory you could just like play a one shot of the background music. Although like if you wanted the background music to loop, then you do have this handy loop function here. So yeah, if you want something that's sort of going to be inherent to your scene, and that's not only going to be played once, then I guess you'd want it to be inherent to the audio source. And with things that are going to be played intermittently, like say meteors falling down making crashing noises, then those would be play one shots. All right. Yeah, I think that's my best answer for now. So
is that okay?
Okay. All right. So I think that's all I can really show you at this point in time with audio sources and play one-shots. So congratulations, you can now play background music in your game, and you can play sounds when certain conditionals of your game have been met. Now I kind of want to go into how you can find audio files of your own on the internet, and like really best practices on how to find the best sound files of your game, what licensing is. So I guess I'll switch over to my internet tab. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to recommend here is Freesound. Freesound is a website which you can make an account on, and you'll have access to a ton of free sound assets that people have uploaded online for you to use. Any sound from the site can be used for free, though some can't be used commercially and some require attribution, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. It might be difficult to find the exact sound you're looking for on this site. So for example, I'm going to go to the sounds tab here. There's going to be a lot. Maybe I can search for like a jump sound. And I'm going to get like a ton of random things like, oh, this is somebody jumping in a pool. This is actually a cat jumping on a carpet, and it only happens in like the last 9 seconds, the last second of the audio clip. So you're going to get like a lot of different stuff that's not necessarily what you want if you're, say, working on an 8-bit game like the prototype. You can narrow the search a little bit by putting in some more keywords like jump 8-bit. And you're going to get stuff that's a little bit more accurate. But even then, like you might want to filter like, oh, what are the most popular sounds? What are the longest sounds? What can I use as background music? And what can I use as just a one shot? So in freesound.org, you can sort by highest rating. You can sort by most downloads. And this will generally get you like the very best of the sounds. If you really want, you can like sort by lowest rating, least downloads, and of course duration. And all of those are going to be super helpful if you're looking for a specific sound. Now, another great resource for you if you want to find free sounds online is the Unity Asset Store. So if you haven't heard of the Unity Asset Store by now, then you really should go check it out. This is a ton of content that people have put out for you, like either for free or for like a small payment. And really, like it doesn't only have sounds. It has like a bunch of like FPS controllers. It has models. It has world building assets. So if you find an asset that sort of encompasses what you're trying to do, then it's probably better to buy the asset than try to work from scratch yourself. So, but in the context of sounds, we can search for something like a medieval sound pack. Medieval sound. And we're going to get a ton of assets. Again, some of them are going to be paid, some of them are going to be free. If you're just starting out, then you can look for free assets just by clicking this little option here, free assets. And you're going to get some pretty decent stuff. So this is going to be a general free sound effects pack. This looks really good. Middle age, medieval, action sound effects pack. And when you get to the Unity Asset Store, you'll be able to import and download an asset into your game here. And if you do it from the website, it'll be saved to your account. So you can go into the Unity Asset Store in your application, just click My Assets and download the game from there. You can also import it externally as a resource. All right, so we have these two amazing resources full of free sounds, and but On Freesound, some of these sounds come with caveats, and it's important to understand what they mean. If you're just using these sounds like sort of for hobby projects that you're not really going to release, then it might not be such a big deal for you. But if you plan on releasing your games or making money off of them, then it's important to pay attention to this little box over here, which is the licensing. So, for example, this work is licensed under the attribution license. And this essentially means that if you're using this sound asset for any work that you're distributing publicly, then you're going to need to give credit to the author. You're going to, and that can be something as simple as, oh, I got this from freesound.org, and these people, the Optron team, made the sound asset that I'm using in my project. Another one that is very, very common is the Creative Commons Zero license, which would be over here. Oh, that link has a comma in it. All right. So this is another great, great sound. If I could play it for you guys, this is like from a very, very cinematic sound. And this is licensed under the Creative Commons Zero license, which is the most free of the licenses. You can use the sound commercially, but you can use this sound commercially, non-commercially, and you don't even have to give the author attribution. This person has said you can use my sound for pretty much any purpose. The only thing you can't do with a Creative Commons Zero license is claim you yourself are the author. All right. Finally, you're going to see this asset or this license. This is the attribution non-commercial license. So this is the most restrictive of the assets that you're going to find on freesound.org. And essentially, it means that not only do you have to provide attribution, but you can only use it in non-commercial applications. So you can't make money off of any application that uses the sound in it. All right. So I guess that was a lot to remember. There are some tricks to remembering all of this, like attribution means, of course, like you have to credit the author. Non-commercial means that you can't use it commercially. But if you ever get confused about any of this, Freesound has a wonderful help section, which explains pretty much everything that I've gone over right here. And yeah, they say that they're not lawyers, but this is a very, very great guide to what you can and cannot use. Of course, if you go to the Unity Asset Store, you don't really have to worry about all this stuff. You can just, once you buy an asset on the Unity Asset Store, it's practically yours as long as you're not distributing any paid assets. And yeah, you don't. Once you download an asset, it's yours. You don't have to provide attribution if you use it in a game, but of course, the creators appreciate it if you do. All right, that pretty much wraps up most of what I wanted to cover today. Yeah, I could talk about like what audio files actually are, but we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, so a bit of a shorter lesson today, guys.
Yeah.
Want to thank you again, Chris, for coming out. If anyone had any questions, make sure to pop by office hours later this week. Time to be determined. Yeah, see you guys next week for our final week of lessons. Bye all.